Yeah. So our first problem is like array of nums is given and there exists at least one largest element, and we have to find whether that largest element in the array is at least twice as much as every other number in the array. So if we look here, coming to 6, 3 into 2, 6. I mean 6 is greater than 2. 2 times of 3, 2 times of 1, and 2 times of zeros. So we have to return the index of that particular number. But here if we pick 4, 3 into 2 is 6, which is greater than 4. So, and none of them is the potential candidate for this. Yeah. And nums will have a length in the range 1 to 50, and every nums will be an integer in the range of 0 to 99. Yeah. So what would be the brute force here? Like,
So I think brute force would be like, for in the first loop, just find out which is the largest number, and then in second loop, we have the largest number. Just compare it like twice of that. If that number is a twice of or greater than the twice of the number, which is the maximum number, is equal to
from
maximum or not, then if it is there, then it's okay. If at wherever we find that if it is not the twice of the number, then we'll just return -1 over there if it is not. That would be, I think, order of n, but the main trick is to do it in a one pass.
Yeah.
But that
So-
itself is a optimal solution, right?
But passes will be good.
Passes will be 2 actually, yes.
But did they say that we have to do a single pass?
No,
No, just for more optimization, I think.
Okay, yeah.
yeah, that would be other like question of interviewer, that can you do it in a one pass?
Oh, okay. So in that case, maybe are we allowed to take some more space and do it? Because if you say in single pass, what I would do is I would use something like though it's very weird, but I would think like use a priority queue, okay, and keep on dumping all these elements. Maybe something like a min heap, and then at the end just remove the top 2 ones and just compare. So maybe that is a single pass.
What would be your maximum number at that time?
So I would compare it during the iteration. I'll just keep on pushing it in the priority queue. Okay, and so at the end, so I have a min heap. Okay, so in the min heap, I'll just pop up the first 2 elements and look at the first 2 elements. Obviously the first will be the greatest one, and the second greatest would be if it is less than twice of that number, then I would return -1.
Yeah.
Okay, or else.
What would be the size of your priority queue?
Yeah, so it will be O of n. So that is what I'm saying. I'll have a space. I will consume more space, but that will be a single pass.
But that would be complexity wise would be also high, because a priority queue is a heap. Max heap would be.
Oh, right. I am sorry about that. Yeah.
Order of n.
Order of
Yeah. So it will be like log n
Log
times
n.
that n log n. Yeah.
Yeah, worst case, yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
Can we take a max heap with the size limit of 2?
Max heap or min?
Yeah, priority queue, like maximum priority queue, max priority queue with the size limit of 2.
Will that work? Maybe if we take it like min heap with that size of 2 or max heap.
Why min heap?
So if we take min heap, anytime whatever we push in, so those we'll have the two, whichever 2 numbers, they will be the highest ones, right?
So you're saying take a min heap with the size of 2?
Yeah.
Yep, that sounds good.
But still it will be log of k or something, log of 2, but it might be constant, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So that is a slightly optimized version, and that it might, be okay. Yeah. Good. Thanks, Gaurav. Yeah. I never thought of that.
So So what would be the bit more optimized? I mean, how can we improvise it?
So we can
I think what
improvise it more.
you are doing is the best. Looks to me a good one. The way you have solved it,
Yeah.
I think that looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, taking 2 maximum, right?
Yeah, and then just checking if the second maximum is lesser or greater than my initial maximum.
Yeah. And then the second maximum, first maximum, we are comparing whether that is greater than 2 times of the second maximum. And in that case, we'll return the index of that max from the num.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're just taking two variables, okay,
Yeah.
and then keeping them as okay. Yeah, I think this will be the best one. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, space I'm not taking.
Right. Because priority queue will still involve all those internals and everything, right? It will consume some space and computation and everything, but yeah.
So I didn't really understand. Like we are taking a priority queue of size 2, and then after multiplying all the elements by 2, we are again checking whether those two elements are same or not. Is it
No,
correct?
actually just going through it, the whole of our list, okay? And
Okay.
just whenever we are pushing it, we just look for the max tools, right?
Okay, so you're doing this twice. Once on the original, and then after multiplying each element by 2.
No, like take a priority queue of size 2, minimum priority queue. Okay, so you are bounding the size of priority queue to size 2. Keep pushing the elements, comparing it with the top. If it is greater than the top, then push it in the priority queue. So
Okay.
once you are done with the array, given array, in the last you are left with 2 elements, largest
Right.
and the second largest.
Right.
Second largest on the top and then the largest.
Right.
Okay, so it's just like a way to figure out largest and the second largest element.
Okay, got it. Then you do the same thing.
Yeah, and then we do the same thing. Yeah, but so array approach, whatever is on the screen right now is definitely better. But if you take the priority queue with bounded size, like size 2, then from the complexity wise, both should be the same.
Yeah, that would be log 2 maximum. And log 2.
So any other approach apart from this, like, I mean, those priority queue on this?
No, I think this is these are the only two I would think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other approaches are like just sort the array, but in that case, like the complexity will be more.
And log n.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we can switch to next. So our next is like revealing card in an increasing order. So deck of cards is given and each of the card will have a unique integer and we are supposed to order the deck. You can order the deck in any order you want. Initially all the cards will face down, that is they will not be revealed. The process is like that: you take the top of the card, reveal it and take it out of the deck. The next time, if there are still cards left in your deck, the next top card you pick it and put it at the bottom of the deck. And if still unrevealed cards are there, then just recurse the entire process again. So we have to return an ordering of the deck that would reveal the cards in an increasing order. So according to them, if this is the answer, then if you see what they are doing actually, so they have taken this card. So first they are taking 2 and removing it out, and next number is 13. So they are putting 13 at the last. Now out of this, 3 again, this is the resulting array. Now 3 they are taking out, and once the 3 is taken, 11 is they stacked at the back of this array of cards. Again 5 will be taken, and then 17 will be stacked at the bottom, and 11 and so on. Carries till 17. So here you can see that all the cards are revealed, and so this is the one order which they are following. This is one of the order like in which you can get the numbers in an increasing order. So Yeah. And constraints are like none of the elements will be same for every I not equal, for all I not equal to j. Yeah. So what would be the brute force here?
Yeah, so before even going there, what I was thinking, when you look at this example one, and then he is saying, you have an input, whatever that he says,
Yeah.
but then he's saying after reordering, right?
Yeah.
So the reordering, whatever the way he's shuffling, I did not get what actually, did you get it? Or is it like any order is fine? It means anyway, you just shuffle it, right? Is that
Yeah, you
what it
pick
means?
any order, but resulting should be in an increasing order.
Okay,
This
so how does this go to?
this 2, 3, 5, 17, 11. This is an increasing order, right? I mean, since this worked here, you can do any other order you can take it, but the numbers which you will get, that should be in an increasing order, I think.
Oh, okay. So you are saying the one at index 0, 2, 4, 6, whichever the evens ones are, they should be in increasing order. Okay. And the rest should
No,
remain the same.
Yeah.
no, I don't think that would be valid every time. We just have to apply those two rules on every possible output we are trying to, return.
I mean, I was saying like this should be, sorry. God.
So can we walk through this example with the steps which they mentioned? That would be more clear how
I
this
was
is.
saying this one should be in increasing order. I mean, this is the resultant which should be obtained in an increasing.
Yeah, the way we pop, the pop out
Yeah.
elements, that has to be an increasing order.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think overall at the surface level, you have to print the array in a waveform. Like one should be increasing. Sorry, if one is increasing, then decreasing, again increasing, decreasing. This, I mean, waveform should be there. Like 2 is smaller, then 13 is greater, again 3 is smaller, 11 is greater, 5 is smaller, 17 greater, and then this.
Yeah. So actually, yeah, what Sonia says is right. Actually, if you go through that, so what I understood now is, whenever it
Yeah.
says reordering of the deck and whatever he's showing, okay, that might be a resultant. Okay, it's not the way it is he's ordering it or shuffling it.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's just going through it, and out that is the output actually.
Yeah, 2,
If
3,
you
13,
just
that's the output. Yeah.
right. So if we walk through the way Sonia was saying, so if we
Yeah.
say 2, because why we are taking 2? Because that is the smallest one of all of these ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then 13, okay, then move 13 to the bottom. So that maybe if we defer it for some time, okay. So we say whatever is on the top, just move it to the bottom. So then the second, what we want to reveal is 3 because it's the second largest one, second smallest one, right? So it is slightly greater than 2, okay? And that is the minimum one now. So then we do for 2 and then we just move 11, okay? So if we look at the way 13 is, if we start from here, okay, no, that doesn't make sense though. Okay, so then we go for 5, then because 5 is the third one, right? So then we move whatever will be on the top. So maybe 17, we just move that 17 and then 7. So these 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, they are in the increasing order and therefore they are sort of a sorted one, right?
Yeah.
So if we just have these sorted, so whatever we are moving, that is fine. So that will automatically be in that order. That is what I'm thinking. Is it
Only
right?
the initial arrangement is like this, right?
I'm sorry.
You have to come up with this arrangement such that the element what you pop out should be in an increasing order.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and so the way they are actually putting, because we have an array of size like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that array size will be fixed. Okay. So when we are shuffling, so the first one what he's putting will be in the 0th position, then it will be in the second position, then it will be in the 4th, right? And then it will be in the 6th, right? And now after that, whatever he is pushing, but I didn't understand why 13 is coming in the first one. Okay, if it is a sorted array. Okay, yeah, then in that case, he's taking 11 and then he's taking 13 and 17.
So the thing is, the deck which they have given is this array. So I think rather than going on a result set, we need to start make this area about how they have mentioned the steps we need to do, because ultimately we will be given this array only as a tech, 17, 13, 11 input.
Okay. So I understood till like 2, 3, 5, 7. Okay, they are placed at a 0, 2, 4, 6 positions. Now when you come to 11, okay, so then why 11 is placed at position 3?
Yeah.
That is slightly not clear. 13 and 7 may be fine, you know.
Yep. So take a like a step where 7, 13, 11, and 17 are left. Okay.
Okay.
So after you take out 7, 13 is the next top card. So 13 you need to like slide it to the bottom of the deck.
Okay. So you are saying the way it is, right? Okay.
Yeah. The reason is like when 2 is on the top, you are starting with that deck. So anyway, like you have to pick the top card first. But now, like after the top card is 7, you pick that card, then the next card, whatever is on the top, you have to slide it at the bottom.
Okay. So if you slide it at the bottom, therefore it goes exactly in that position.
Yeah.
So you start with sorting of array. That is the best way to do it, right? Because we always get an increasing order.
Just sort it and alternate reverse the number.
Yeah. So if we walk through, then it might make more sense, right? If we sort this array 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17. Okay.
Sure.
We just forget about the deck, whatever it is now. Okay. So 2, 3, 5, 7. Okay, no problem. 13, 17. So we just remove 2 and keep it at one place, correct? We don't.
Okay.
So
2 should
2,
I remove, right?
yes, 2 will be here. So we just move 3 backside, just move 3 backside. So you can just scratch that and just put that 3 there, right? So now in that case, how can that go there then? Okay, then we take 5, but as per year, we have to take 3, right? No, this is slightly different then.
No, I was saying like if we reverse these numbers after sorting.
No, but this is not working, right? The way we were thinking.
No, you take this array, sort it and reverse the alternate, and then you work. Then you do. Then it will work. So like our array is like this, right? 2, 3, 5, then 7, then 11, 13, and then 17. Now just I was telling that if we reverse sort these numbers and obtain the resulting array, and in that if we reverse sort it, then what will happen? 17 will come here, right? Followed by 3, then 11, then 7 should come.
I think that would be 13 instead of 11.
Oh, sorry, it would be 13. 13, then 7, 13, then 11, right? Oh, 17 is there, 17 is there, thereafter. It should be 11 then, because these numbers we are keeping these at the same place. Only we are reversing the 16, right? So it should be as 2's place 17 will be there, 3 will be as it is. Then 17 will be followed by 11. Then 5 will come. And after 5, 17.
7, because it's middle, right?
Pardon?
7 will come right after 5. Because
Yeah, after 5, 7 will come. Sorry, yeah. After 5, 7 will be there.
and
13 should come after that. No. After that, 2 will come. Then 13. Now all the numbers are there, right?
2 should come at the 17th place, right? Because 17 and 2 are swapped.
This is 7. Oh, sorry, this is.
No, that's 17, yeah.
17, okay.
13 and 2.
Oh, they should be swapped, right? 2 should go at last, yeah, correct.
Yeah, 2 should go.
2 will go here and 13 will go here. Now I think if we perform that, but we'll get array in a descending order, right? So I should have sorted it in a descending way initially. Because either here if I pop, then 17 will be first to come, and then 3 will go backside. Then after that 11 will come. No, it's not working.
Okay.
Some flaw is there. No, it's not working.
Yeah, that's fine. But that's a good try. So the way the solution says, what they are doing is the first in the solution, whatever is in lead code solution, they are actually having a linked list of numbers from 0 to 7. Okay, because the size is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 0 to 6. He's having numbers like 0 to 6. They are the indexes actually. And then he sorts the array. So the array will be 2, 3, 5, 7, whatever it is. So whenever he just picks one of the card, okay, so the initial card will be 2, and then he will place that card, and now we have that index, right? So the index top value, whatever is that value, he places the card at that position. Okay, and then after that he actually takes whatever is the next top position, front position in the linked list, and then pushes that to the back side of it. It keeps on rotating that linked list. Okay, so he gets the indexes where he has to place. So therefore he is actually placing 0, 2, 3, 5, 7, whatever those numbers are. They are at like the even number 0, 2, 4, 6, something like that. So if I quickly, I'll just try here.
Oh, you're trying on screen.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Did you? Oh, yeah. I'll just try on the screen the same. Because I can just look at the numbers, right? Can you please bring that screen, Shashank?
I thought, yeah, sure.
Can you share your?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So here. So what is saying, he first form index, whatever that index is. So this index will be like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we have this array, this input array, we just sort it like this input array. So it will be 2, 3, 5, 7, right? 5, 7, then we have 11, and then 13, and then 17. Okay. So now we start with this index. First we take this input array, and we have a resultant array over here. Okay, so this, and then we have all these numbers, indexes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is what we have to fill in. Currently they are initialized to 0 values. So he takes this input first, and then he takes this index, right? So this index, he pops this out, so he removes this completely. Okay, and then he takes this 2 and places that at this index. Okay, and now this input is gone. Then he goes to this input, which is 3. And then this 1 actually, he has actually pushed it back. Okay, so 1 will be here now. So the next index here is 2. So now he places this 3 at location 2. Okay, so then he removes that. So this 2 is also gone. Then he actually removes this 3 and places it here. Okay, so when he does that, so next one is 4. Okay, and then this is 4th index and this is the 5th value. So 5 value is placed here. Okay, then he removes this 5 also and then 4 also. Okay, and then this 5 actually, so this 5 actually pushes back. So now we have 6, 1, 3 and 5. So if we just ignore them for some time. So now the 7th value, this 7th, actually he places it at 6th position because this is a 6th one, right? So he just removes the 7, he places it at 6, and then he removes that 6. And then 1 again he pushes back. Okay. So now we have 3, 5, 1 here, and then we have 11. Okay. So this 11, he picks 11, and this is the 3rd index here, right? So this 3rd, he removes that, and here actually 11 is placed. So he removes 11 also, and he picks up this 5 and pushes 5 back. So we have 1 and 5, and therefore 13, he pushes at 1, and then he takes this 17 and pushes it, places at here, 17
Yeah.
here.
17, yeah.
So this is the way he is doing it. So he maintains an index, a linked list of index. So the first index, whatever he gets, the first front one, he takes that, and then actually the array is always sorted. So from that array, whatever the deck is, which is sorted one, he just keeps on picking up one by one from the front. Okay, and then he just tries to match with that index. So the first index he always matches, but the second index, okay, of that linked list, he just removes that and pushes back. So that is what our second condition is, right? So if you look at the example, so he says that if there are still cards in the deck, put the next top card of the deck to the bottom of it. So he just moves that to the bottom, and that is what he's trying to do it here in this index. When he just takes this 1, okay, he pushes it to backside.
Back.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is what is been in the solution.
So Santosh, in the first run, you inserted these elements, right? 2, 5,
2, 3, 5, 7, yeah.
2, 3, 5, 7. Okay.
So when you do that, so therefore I was not sure why the 13 comes at position 3, but if you keep on shuffling it, so then it makes sense, because I thought it was like it is always placed at first 0, 2, 4, 6, okay, and then the first will be like whatever is present from that, right? Because that is the vacant one, right? So when we actually first finish all the even numbers, then we go to the odd indexes, right? So odd index 13 is the first one, but he is placing 11 at index 3 instead of 1. So why is that? Because we keep on shuffling those cards, whatever we have those cards on the deck, we keep on pushing them backside, right? So that is why the order changes. Yeah, but actually it's the way they have explained, the steps. So exactly the steps if we follow, but only thing is we have to have this separate index. Okay, so which will keep on having, so index is the way he's simulating how he's pushing the cards. Okay, but in fact, we have the cards already always in the sorted order, and when we are just picking them in that order, we are not actually, and the index is using to place the card at a particular place in the resultant output. So that is what I understood from the solution.
So, yeah. So first sorting you will take a login, right? And then for shuffling, yeah.
So yeah, what you say, sort the array so that whatever that n log n will be. And then we are maintaining this index as a linked list. So index, I'm just is using it actually to find where my next card should go, right? So initially he says for the step one, he just says that whatever is the card you place at that index. So our first index will always be 0. You place the card over there. And immediately after first, when we remove that, because you have placed the card, we don't need that index, right? So we go to the next one. So next is, in our index is 1, right? So, but 1, he says, you just, if you have still cards left, we have still cards left, right? Because index is not less than 0. Index size is not less than 0. So we just take up whatever is the front and just move it to the back. Okay, so first index we say, okay, we are not using it now, we are just pushing it to the back. Then what we get is the 2. So in that, what happens, all the even numbers pop up first. So we have 0, 2, 4, 6 coming up, and we are always pushing all our odd numbers at the back, correct? So we have numbers like 1, 3, 5 always going back. So when we finish with our even numbers, when we have 1, 3, 5, okay, right? But then we actually don't do that, because when we go to 6, when we finish the last even, we have 1, 3, 5 for sure. But then we, as our rule says, that we have to push, pick up what is the next one and move it to the back. So that is why the 1 goes to behind, like 3 and 5 and 1. So therefore the 1 goes to 3, 5, 1. Right? Then we take for 3 and then 5, and then we take for 3 and then we again push 5 behind. So we have 1 and then 5, something like that, So we keep on alternating our index positions. Yeah. So I think the way they say, if we implement, there is nothing more we can do. There's no algorithm or data structures, anything like that, but it is a rule based. And if we just follow the way the rule says, yeah, it works. But the only thing is I couldn't come out with that index list, what he's using. So that was one thing which I don't think so. It's so intuitive to come up
Without space, we can't do. If the array itself we modify, can we, like, you are taking here a linked list for maintaining the index, right?
Yeah, I'm actually trying to follow. Means the solution, what they say, is trying to follow the indexes, right? So he's simulating the index as a form of placing the cards.
Class. Okay.
It's slightly hard, I would say, to follow that
Yeah,
the
exactly.
way they are doing it. Uh, if we try to do the way the rules are, even if we have the cards sorted, I would still say the way he's coming up with 2, 3, 5, 7, I don't think so. It makes more sense, right? Even if you do that way, right?
It won't work, yeah.
Yeah, it won't work also, because if you have 2, 3, 5, 7, whatever the numbers are, if you take 2 and then pick up 3 and push it behind, okay, and then we have 5 left, okay, if we push 5, so that doesn't come in the output also, right? So
Yeah.
the first output is 2 and then the next one is 13 and not 5.
But I think I've seen somewhere that without space, I mean, without taking extra space, like here we are at least maintaining the index.
Right, yeah. So, okay, so yeah, there will surely be many ways we have done it. Yeah. So if you have something which we can actually walk through, that will be great. Yeah.
I'll have to check it.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me check that.
Sure.
Yeah, I was saying for this. this is what I saw.
Okay. It's a
So
3-line code.
yeah, first they are sorting it, okay,
Uh-huh.
and then the one which I was telling you, they are back reversing and inserting the elements. Like they are going from the back of the array and skipping one element each and going till 0. They are popping the element and then putting at that index. I think it's similar to yours only.
So they are going from the back side of the array after sorting it.
Yeah, from length of deck -2. Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
And alternatively, they are popping and pushing it at that particular index.
yeah. Yeah, it's a very great way of doing this.
Yeah,
It's
but
very difficult to understand though. Yeah. Uh-huh. So because I'll have to start with what is the range, and then you'll say, what is that? Why are you asking all these questions?
Yeah, exactly.
That comes to that, yeah. But
This is what I saw there. Like,
mhm. So you are not consuming any space in this case,
yeah, same
and
area I'm modifying.
therefore, okay, you are modifying the input area.
Yeah. I'm popping the element from last and putting at that given index.
Okay, so you are saying like you take whatever is, and then the next one you actually move it to the back side, right?
Yeah.
First you take whatever is present from the deck, which is already sorted. You place it at one index, and then you move for the next one, and then you push it to the back. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
In
think
that,
in Python we can insert from both sides. So is it using that property?
Pardon?
So in Python, these lists, is it like can we insert from both sides?
Yeah, you can insert at given in. You can pop only from back side. Dot pop method will pop it from back side. And yeah, you can insert it in. It's an array, right? Deck is an array, so you can insert at given index.
Okay.
oh, so he's using that index also, right? Because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
is the index.
exactly. Yeah. At that
So
particular
he'll,
index,
okay.
What is this -1 here? So length of
minus
deck
one is skipping. Skipping a bit, like if I'm at index 5, then next time -1. That means I'll skip one of the element and then go to next. There's a Python syntax like if you are at 1, then if you want to go to 3, so you'll do 1 plus. Sorry, if you want to go to third index, so 1 plus 2 you will do, and again 5, 3 plus 2. So if I'm at the back and if I have to go by leaving one index each, then -1 you will do for that.
It's like I minus minus.
Oh,
Yeah, I minus
Oh,
1. That
okay.
means we are going till index 0. I mean, we are starting from the back, I mean, last length of the array, skipping each element and going till the 0th index of the array.
Oh, so you're doing an alternate one.
Exactly, the one which I was explaining. Actually, I missed something at that point in the example.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think what Shashank is explaining is what is there in this link. He's also doing this in constant space, and he has explained it step by step.
I took it from the solution only. Let me check.
Constant space in the sense he's just using the input array, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So he's modifying that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's the only thing that's the only max thing what we can do, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what I got this intuition earlier, we have some array questions like print the array in the waveform, one smaller than greater, smaller, greater, and that thing, the concept I'm following. Like for sorting everything in increasing order and then take the alternate elements and reverse them.
Okay, so if you look at this, whatever is on the screen right now,
Yeah.
okay, so what are they trying to say? First, sort the deck in increasing order, and then create a DQ data structure so we can efficiently push to
No,
the
I'm
front
sorry.
and pop.
This code is using extra space.
I think that is the way will be an easier way to understand, right? Because first of all, understanding itself is slightly not very clear, I would say, for me. I went through that solution, that's fine, but I really couldn't understand it. Means it's not logically working for me. So I was thinking,
Yeah.
what else best we can actually find out. Yeah.
He's
We
using
can go
DQ.
through this. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Shall I go to code?
We can go through the starting description.
Exactly.
First.
Yeah. So first they are sorting it in an increasing order.
Mhm.
Then DQ they are using because they'll be popping from front and pushing from front and popping from back.
Yeah, I think the first line is also important. I'm just trying to build the deck from back to the front so that
So
we
we
can
get
reverse.
steps that were involved to reveal the card. Okay.
Okay, let's see.
So
Yeah.
he's building from back to the front. So we can reverse the step.
So they are storing the last element in the DQ.
Mhm. So when you have this 2, 3, 5, whatever that sorted array, you just
Yeah.
take the 17th one, which is the last one, right? You DQ that, and then you start going for the whole of fourth iteration. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we put this in the beginning of our DQ.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So they are first 17, then popping it out, then store 17, and then push 17 to the back.
No. They are first popping the element from that queue, pushing it.
Okay.
Can you go up, scroll up? Yeah, this. So the first step is to store the last element in the DQ. Then you pop this element, and then you push this element to the front of the DQ.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this 3.3.
This one. And then they're repeating the same process, right? With the
Yeah,
numbers.
this is also not very clear.
Okay. So there is one which has pictures, but he has.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you go to the C++1. You know.
Okay.
If you go to most votes, and in that C++ with picture, right? Skip for empty space. Yeah, if you click that, and if there's a picture there, right? So if you see,
Nice one, yeah.
yeah. So he's taking a different example. Okay, so like 1 to 15. Okay, and then what he's doing is first is all yellow, and then in the second one, he is pushing from starting 1, 2, 3, 5 with starting of this array 1, 2, 3, 5. Actually, he's pushing it at the even indexes 1 to 8, right? And then the next one, when he's pushing it, which starts from 9, he goes for the whatever are left, right? So now we are left with all odd indexes, but in the odd also, he's starting from the
Second one.
yeah, second one. Yeah, so it's like odds odd again. So because we are left whatever we are left with, and if we just consider that array, then those odds is taking 9, 10, and 11, and after that he's going to the even ones, but that also even ones only, because now we
Yeah,
are
I
left
didn't get
with
this step when he's filling from 12.
Okay, so now see when he has done with 9, 11, whatever it is, so we are remaining with the one at one between 1 and 2. Okay,
Yeah.
so that will be an even index, right? If we just consider whatever are remaining, and then the second between 3 and 4 he will be an odd in that case, so he's not filling that, and then he's going to the even one, which is between 5 and 6. Okay, and the last one is not filling. So once he's doing even, and then he's doing odd. Okay, so with whatever the leftovers are.
Okay.
So then that way, if we look at it, if we just take this array in that whatever the form sorted form is, and if we place it first in the even ones, and then we whatever is the leftover, we consider them as starting from 0 to n, and then out of that we just find whatever the odd ones are. Okay, we fill whatever is we are left with from that array, and then we keep on just shuffling with even and odd, then actually it will get to this. Yeah.
Yes, alternatively, first we fill the even and then odd, then even.
Right. Yeah. So looking at high level, it looks like that, but implementing will not be so easy though.
Yeah, I don't get the intuition also.
Right. So this is what it looks like, and then we will have to take help of that solution in that case, because the solution actually does the same thing when he's having an index of all those linked lists. Okay, if he tries to push it back, because eventually when he starts with the first one and then he's pushing the second, so he's actually pushing the even ones to the back, and then he's consuming all the he's pushing the odd ones to the back, and he's consuming all the evens in the first go, and then whatever is left, he has left with all even, but in that also he chooses the evens to fill up first, and then he pushes all the he takes the odd, and then he pushes all the evens to the back side, based on what our array size is, if it's even based or odd based, right? So actually it comes to this way only, the way he's filling it. Yeah, so we just have to do it exactly the way he says in that steps. So if we have to explain it, we'll have to explain this way to the interviewer, saying, okay, I'm using this array and I'm just placing it like this, moving from even to odd, odd to even. And for that, I'm just taking help of an linked list. So that is the best I think one could do. But if you go like Shashank was showing, it will be slightly difficult to actually explain him why those things are
exactly.
coming.
Yeah,
This is just my thoughts. Yeah.
So sure. in the first run, we try to go to the even indices only. Like we try to pop the even indices, and then in the second run, what we do, the first thing is we move our top element to the bottom. So essentially, we are starting from the odd indices. Like in this case, we'll after setting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we'll go to 9. So 9. This is why I think he's setting the odd indices in the second run.
Yeah.
So, but why we are not putting 9 at the yellow first between 1 and 2? We are starting from this purple.
If you put 9 in this place, after you have obtained this sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If 9 is there in between 1 and 2, what you will do is you will put 9 and put at the bottom.
Because that is an event index, right? So it doesn't want to use that event index first.
We want 9 just after we get 8. So this is why we have removed 1 and 2. So the next available index would be 9 only if we put it this way on the odd index.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he has done this in O of n also, somewhere down.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I can crawl it up. No, but 2 for loops is using.
Yeah, he's using 2 for loops.
Maybe below.
Maybe, yeah, but it might be O of n, or no, it will be at least n log n because he is sorting, right?
Sorting, yeah, 100%. Yeah, that is it.
But only the for loops
I don't
are
think he's sorting the array. He's just making a new array and then setting those indices, I think. Maybe.
So what is the sort begin?
No, he's sorting it.
I think this is the second solution.
You went to another solution, Shashank.
This one.
Okay, he's sorting it. Okay.
He's sorting that, yeah.
This one. This one. Yeah. So we can go to next then.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, super palindromes. So, I mean, a super palindrome by definition is like, it is a, I mean, if you square the number, the root of that number should be a palindrome. Like 1 to 1 is just, if you take the root of this number 11, it's a palindrome. 9, 3 is a palindrome, 2 is a palindrome, and for 4, 8, 4, it's 22, I think. So that is also a palindrome. But 676, the root is not a palindrome, 26. So we have to find all such numbers. And the range will be like 1 to 10 raised to power 18. So which all such numbers are there between left and right range? So what would be the brute force here?
So all the 1-digit and 2-digit numbers, all the numbers which are squares, I think those would be super palindromes, right?
Yeah, 1 to 9, right?
1 to 9 also, and so how is he defining it?
1 to 9, like their root will be always single digit, so that's a palindrome.
Right. Okay, right.
But apart from that,
Yeah, I don't think we can say this was 2-digit numbers.
Yeah, you can't say. You have to say.
Okay, so the first thing is when he says super palindrome. Okay, sorry, I'm actually coming back again.
1 to 9 cannot be a palindrome, right? Square root of 5 will not be a palindrome, right?
5 won't be a palindrome. On itself, it will be a palindrome, 5.
No, if you take a square root of it, you will not get a proper integer, right? For 5.
If you get a square root of 5. Okay, yeah, makes sense. He's saying that if you take a square root of 5, it won't be a palindrome, right?
Yeah, no, I was saying the square of the numbers. Like you do the number square and their root will be a palindrome. Like 5 square is 25. 25's root, if I take 5, that is a palindrome.
Oh, okay. But if you take 5, actually, we cannot consider it a super palindrome.
Yeah, 5 is not they are considering super palindrome. Maybe because if we take a square root of 5, it is not possible. Here, 4 and 9, if we take a square root of 4, it's 2 and 9 is 3, then they are palindrome.
Yeah, because they are single digits, right?
Only the square numbers we can take.
But 5 is not a perfect square of any number, so we don't need to look for that.
Right.
Yeah, so only we have 4 and 9.
4 and 9 only we have here.
Then why not 11 is a palindrome?
11's
square root
121's root is here. 11 is a palindrome.
Sorry?
1 is also a palindrome. Inside 1 to 9, 1 is also a palindrome. Super palindrome.
I think so, but actually he starts with L, which is 4. So we cannot go lesser than that.
Yeah, you can't.
I mean for other examples.
Yeah,
for this
I
first one
agree.
example, it's okay.
Right, I agree.
Why? Can you say why 11 is not?
No, 11 is, I'm saying, like 121's root is 11 and it is a perfect, it is a palindrome.
But 11 itself, like they have considered 121 because it's L and between.
But
L
it's not a perfect square, no. 11 is a perfect square of which number?
Okay.
No number.
No number. Okay.
You have to check perfect square also, right?
No. I think 11 is not a super palindrome because the square root of 11 is not a palindrome.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what also he is also saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean the other way around, you are saying the same thing, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we can do, like in a brute force, in this case, at least we understood what super palindrome is, right? So palindrome is a number, whatever we have in hand. If we make a square root of that, and that is a palindrome, then we say it is a super palindrome, right?
Yeah.
So that definition is clear. So if you go with the brute force, we start with L, whatever the number is, because we are inclusive with L and R also, right? Right. So we start with that number, okay, and we keep on increasing towards R. Okay. So whenever we encounter any number, we say its square, take its square. And if that square is a palindrome, okay, and the current one is also palindrome, then we include the square as a palindrome, super palindrome, right?
Yes.
And then we keep on moving till we don't reach R.
Yeah.
Right?
So
that
first
might be
all the square root, I mean all the perfect square numbers between L to 1000 R, right?
Yeah, that is I was thinking. Will that make sense?
Yeah, and then take the root and check whether that's a palindrome or not.
Instead of taking a root, what I was thinking, like take a number, okay, just square that number and see
Okay.
when you are squared, okay. But first, whatever number you are taking, see if it is a palindrome. Like in this case, 4. If I take it as a look at it as a palindrome, then I square that number 4 multiplied by 16. 4 by 4 will be 16. So if 16 is a palindrome, then I consider it as a super palindrome, or else I just move to the next one.
Why did not they include 16 here?
No, it won't, because 16 is not a super palindrome, right?
16 itself is not a palindrome. It's not
It's
a
not a
palindrome.
palindrome,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Hi.
So if I do it that way, then I go to 4, then I go to 9. But instead of that, I think what you are saying is right. I should actually take a number and then do a square root of that number and see if the square root is a palindrome. Okay. Then I consider this number.
Yeah.
But in that case, I have to see the square root should be greater than n, correct?
Pardon, we did get some
Right.
background
So,
noise here. Yeah. So both the
so a
square
little
root of
optimization.
okay, go ahead.
So a little optimization in Santosh's solution. I think then that we can start the loop from root L and run till root R. And for all the numbers like for int I equal to 0, for int I equal to root L, I less than root R, I plus plus. If I itself is a palindrome, then we'll score, like take I square, and then check if it's a palindrome as well. If both the conditions are met, then we can add it to the like list or vector. Otherwise, just skip it and continue. So this way we will be running like a lot less. The for loop will be for lot less numbers as compared to for running from L to R and then taking the square root. Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ronnie, we heard some parts of your conversation. Can you actually explain it on whiteboard if possible?
Yeah. Actually, some noise was
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
That's
there's
the
some
voice
noise,
was.
therefore,
Okay. Sure. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. It's audible.
Okay. Okay. So what I'm saying is, let's say L is in this example L is 4 and R is 1000. So what we can start from is root L, which is equal to 2, and root R, which is equal to 31. So for every number between 2 and 31, we'll see if the number itself is a palindrome. So 2 is a palindrome. So we'll do a square of 4 and check if it is a palindrome as well. So 4 is also a palindrome, so we'll add it to the list. And then we'll just move to 3, then 4, then 5, and we'll start from 2 and we'll end at 31 because square of 31 is like 961 and square of 32 is 1024, which goes beyond our limit of R.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So
Makes
you
sense.
are saying
So
that we
this
just
is
have to go from 2 to 31.
right.
Actually, yeah, even that is not required. Actually, we can further optimize. We have to take the square root
Okay.
of 2, square root of the L. Then actually, from whatever the value we are getting, we can square
Right.
the number from this.
Right, we can do that as well because eventually we want this number, the number 14, 31 and 2 to be palindrome in itself as well, right? So yeah, I think we can do that too.
Manoj, can you repeat your point, please?
Yeah, I also didn't get that.
Yeah, my point is we can take the square root of L actually. So for this case, actually, square root of L will be 2. The next number we no need to go with 3 actually. Instead of going with 3, we can just square the 2 actually. Whatever the number we have, we can square it and then we can go for the next number.
What do you mean by whatever the numbers we have?
Yeah, please elaborate a little.
Your voice is actually not clear, it seems like.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, you are telling like that we have to square root this 2 to the 4, and then from 4 we have to go, right? 4 4 are 16, for 16 again we have to take the square root. Like that you are telling, right?
Yeah, my concern is instead of going with all the elements after 2, we can only square the element like after 2 we can square 3 actually. Then no need to square 3, I am saying.
Yeah, we can go for 4.
Yeah, we can directly go for the next square, I am saying.
Okay.
I am not sure of it.
So why are you skipping?
Because
yeah, if you closely monitor, the next number after 4 will be 9 as the only palindrome actually. Why we need to do all the numbers in between 2 and 9? There might be some optimization we can do between 2 and 9 to go to the next element. So what we can say is we can just check, take the next value and square it. Instead of going with the 2's next element 3, we can just square the next element. 3 square is 9. So we can directly jump on to the 9.
But here he has actually done root of L, which is 2, right? So he's already done a square root.
Yeah, we can take the square root of L. From then actually we can go with from the next numbers we can directly square it. For example, the starting point is 2, square root of L. Then the next number, instead of going with 3, 4, 5, 6, everything, we can square that number, I'm saying. So 3 square will be 9. So next to check, we can check it for 9. Instead of checking for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because for sure we know that the next number that can be a square of a number is 3 square. So no need to check the numbers in between. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is not required to be checked.
How can we sure about it?
Yeah, to validate my understanding, Manoj, so since we got 2 square is 4, so you are skipping 3.
Yeah, correct.
Okay,
since 3 square is 9, the next square actually, square root of L is 2, then increment square root of L by 1 and try to make it a square. So the next number, instead of going with 1, we have to go with the square of that number, I think, square root of L.
So
square root of the next number.
Had the square number been say 6, so here we have 4, right? So had it been 6, then you would have skipped 3, 4 and 5.
If it is 6 actually, when we are doing a square root, we would have got some number like 2 point something.
Yeah.
Okay. So first we will try, since 2 it is not an actual number, we will try to do with the next number, 3 square, 9. The next check will be doing it for 3 square, 9. Then the next number will be doing it for 4 square. So that the remaining the numbers in the middle can be avoided.
Oh, okay. He's saying whatever the numbers we have, we just take square of those numbers. Like 2 square, 3 square, then 4 square.
Yeah, the starting point is square root of L. The starting point is square root of L. From that number, once you derive that number, then you no need to go all the numbers in between. You can directly go to the next square of that number. The next number square, eliminate next number square.
So basically, in the for loop, the condition will be something like I plus equal to root L, I plus equal to root L square, something like that.
Yeah, correct. You are right.
So what would be the range over here? So how we will define, because here it is defined like we should go till 31, but there it can be like, for example,
yeah, the range is we have to check for the square condition actually. Like for example, if you take the variable as I, if you are iterating with I in for loop, so I will be initialized to square root of L initially. Then the condition will be I square less than or equal to R. Square root of R. I square less than or equal to square root of R. That should be the condition.
Okay.
Manoj, do you have your solution? Have you implemented this?
No, I'm just looking at the solution for the first time of the question. I'm just coming up with the idea actually.
Yeah, that's good.
And this looks promising for this example, but I'm not very sure it is like, I'm not entirely convinced that it is like perfect.
Yeah, because what I thought, when you did root of L and root of R, I thought if the range from root of L to root of R is a palindrome, because we already have taken a root of the numbers L and R, so these we don't have to do a square, because we just have to check because they are already squared numbers, right? Because we have taken a root of L and root of R. So we just have to increment those numbers and then consider them.
No, if you increment one by one, it is not necessary, right? To increment every number after 2. For example, here the starting point is 2. Why we not have to do for 3? We know for sure 3 square root will not be a palindrome.
No. See, we are actually looking for 3. Why we are looking for 3? Because root of L, which L was 4, we are taking 2, right? So when we go from 2 to 3, so in that case L will be 9 actually, correct? Because we are taking under root of L equals 3, right? So therefore square root of
L is a constant. L is a constant here, right?
No, yeah, L may be constant, but actually if we are taking a range now, okay, we are taking all the numbers from L to R.
Okay.
So that means the way I was thinking, because 3 is a palindrome and 9 is also a palindrome, right?
Yeah, correct.
Right.
So that is the way I was thinking.
Yeah, if you're going with 4 and 5 and 6, actually, in that case it will work. What I mean is, if you're going with L equal to 4, and then what will be the next iteration? What will be the next iteration? What will be the value in the?
So yeah,
what will be the next
I was actually trying to follow what Ronnie is saying, right? Under
root
of L and 2 under root of R. But then in that case, I was going to go incrementing one by one and checking each of them was a palindrome, and then only going to, because I already know the square of it is going to be palindrome.
That is what is adding more values unnecessarily, I feel actually. Because
maybe
every number between 2 to 9 actually, we can further optimize it.
No, but
okay, can you?
I think for 3, you are missing out on 3 is a palindrome, right?
Yes, 3 is a palindrome. Yeah. So what I am trying to say is, we will initialize the value with square root of L, some I value. A for loop iterator, the I value we will initiate with square root of L.
Manu, sorry to interrupt. Can you take the second example, L equal to 18, R equal to 200?
Yeah. In this case, actually square root of L will be 7. Something 7.
Yeah, right. 7.
No. 8, 9.
8.
So
yeah, 8.
We will initiate to 8 actually. Square root of 8. We will get 8 from 8. We will try every square number. After 8, the square number, first square number is only 9. 9 is the first square number.
Okay. So your answer will and.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, after 8, the first square number is 9. So we will check for 9. Whether 9 is a palindrome. Yes, it is a palindrome, and the square root of 9 is also a palindrome. We will return true.
Yeah.
Then actually we will go to the next square, because 3 square 9 we know. Then the next square will be 4 square. Instead of doing all the numbers, yeah.
Okay, sorry. So will 9 be appended to the answer or not?
Yeah, 9 should be appended to the answer because it is a super palindrome.
But the square of 9 is 81 and it is not a palindrome, right? So it should not be added.
Right.
No. I am saying for 9 actually. Oh, okay. Yeah. 81 we should not add.
Yeah. Right.
9. It is not 9. It is 81. 81 we should not add.
Okay. So next one, what are you going to take?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Next one I will go with 4 square actually. Initially we got 8. Square root of 8 is 3. Next one we will go with 4 square. That is 16.
But you missed
the next
out
element.
These are 11. You are missing 11 then.
You're missing 11, no?
9 also.
9
and 11 should be added.
Actually, you should add 11 because 11 is a super palindrome.
Right.
Because 11
so
is 121.
Yeah. Right.
No, my point is I'm not squaring 11 actually. 16 is I'm taking the initialization with super palindrome. I'm not initializing with the square root of palindrome. The next iteration. like 16 is the palindrome, not the super palindrome. 9 I tried initially. The first palindrome will be 9, which is not really a super palindrome. Then we are going with 16. So 16 square is 256. We will check whether 256 is a palindrome. 256 is not a palindrome, so we will avoid 16. Then next to 16, the next square is 25. So we will go to 25 and we will square it. We will find 625. So we will take a square root of 625, and we will come to know that it is also 625 is not a palindrome. So we will go with 6 square, 36. So similarly, 36 square we will calculate, and then it will go on like this. I can probably instead of
but for 36 is not right from L to R, and it is 196. That is again in the range.
Yeah, I think he has a different way. Yeah, but Manoj, if you can come up with an implementation, that will be great, because I think we are getting to some extent, but not fully. But that might be an optimized way of doing it, I would say. But if you can try and just share it in Discord, that will be helpful.
I will do it. I will do it, Santosh. I will do it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Yeah. So Ronnie, your way actually is also actually right way, I would say. But yeah, it will involve more computations as per Manoj. But I would think that way, if you know. But still, I'm not sure whether it is the complete solution though.
Right. It was just like optimization to the solution that we were discussing.
Yeah, to start with, I won't worry about optimization, right?
Yeah.
We can actually surely
It
do
was
it
just
more optimized later.
Yeah. I mean,
right.
he's shortening the area space. I mean, number space.
Right. So I like
Right.
that, because you are going to under root of L and R. So we are actually condensing it to like log n almost, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we have to do this because the range for LNR is 10 to the power 18. So yeah, and when we take the root, it comes down to 10 to the power 9.
Yeah. So in this case, we just keep on looking for the numbers which are palindrome between L and R, right? And then also look for the squares if they are also palindrome, and then consider as increment our count, right? And then we say they are super palindromes. Yeah, that might be possible.
So do you have implementation, Ronnie, for this? The one.
No, I have not implemented this. It was just like it was just on top of my head.
Okay.
No.
In Ronnie's solution, what we are doing is we go to each number and check whether that number is a palindrome, and then we check its square root.
Yeah.
No.
Square.
You take the number and square it.
Square it.
Square it.
Yeah, we will check for the square root first and then the square root.
Yeah. And again, that number has to be checked between left and right, right? The square of that number.
Because we already have a square root of L and R, so they should be in between that, right? Yeah. That is what my thoughts are.
Yeah, I think for any square number to be a palindrome in L and R, it has to have a square root in root L to root R, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does anyone here have a solution here? Already have tried this problem. Anyone here?
We actually are looking from the discussions. Yeah, Shashank has one, right? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'll share it. I mean, I was also looking in discussion only.
Okay.
Let's go through. Ronnie.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stop sharing and you can share.
Sure. Thank you, Ronnie. Yeah.
I think we can bring down this process.
So I was telling for this. So what they are doing, like every palindrome will have three parts, right? The left part will be there and the right part, and you will have the middle part for it. So let's say this is a palindrome 1-to-1. So 1-2, 2-1, and 1 will be the middle part for this. So what they are doing here is first, the middle part will always vary from 1 to n only, right? 1 to 9. So they are taking the numbers from this range and forming the palindrome over here, like taking that number and reversing that number and appending both of them. Oh, am I clear?
Okay, so you are forming a palindrome here.
Yeah. and all those numbers I'm first storing inside my array, resultant array.
You get the second
Yeah,
part,
it didn't get played.
this double colon.
Double colon is for reversing it.
From the back.
The voice is
So it's like if your I is 79, then str of I colon colon minus will be 97. So you are appending 7997.
yeah,
Okay.
7997. Yeah. And I told you that the middle part will vary only from 1 to n, 1 to 9. So
Right.
till 10 we are taking and we are inserting all those numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 till what you said till 9 we are appending and putting it inside
Even
our
0, right? Not 1 to 9, it is 0 to 9, right? Why
sorry 0 to
1
9, yeah. Yeah, 0 to 9.
Also it is possible that we do not necessarily need to have a middle number. It can be empty as well, right?
Yeah, that's why it's 0. Yeah, it can be empty also.
So in that case, it is still append 0.
In that case,
For example, I is 123.
okay.
So S1 will be 123 plus 321. So which is 123, 321, right?
Yeah, middle is empty.
Yeah, and in that case, middle is empty, but it will still append 0 in between. Oh no.
0 will, I think, take care. Empty 0 is there, no, that will take care of empty.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, and this is the function just for checking whether the string whatever we have formed, whether the reverse of if both are equal, it will return true in that case. And here then the list whatever I have obtained result, I'm converting all of them to the integers. These two numbers whatever we have obtained in my resultant array, I'm converting them to integers each of them, and after that I'm sorting them and just checking whether the square of it is a palindrome or not. If it is a palindrome, I'm appending it to my answer in the integer format. Does that make sense?
Where are we calling this is palindrome function?
This one here. Here.
And where are we keeping?
And where are we using the first part?
I'm squaring it and passing it in the palin function to check whether the squared number is a palindrome or not.
Where are we ensuring that the numbers lie between the L and R?
This one. We are only using at most 4 digits to construct the 9 digits.
I couldn't understand this.
This is like so what is our range is like 10 raised to the power 19 sorry 18, right?
Right.
10 to the power 18 it is, right?
Right, like the maximum possible.
Yeah, so the maximum, then if you take a square root, it will be 9 digits only.
Yeah, 9.
Okay.
No, but we have like limitation as well, no? That we can, the numbers will be between L and R, no?
10 power 9 will be 10 digits, right?
Yeah, we have limitations, definitely. I don't know where they are not taking care. I think
this is the pre-processing.
If you look at the entry function, there he might be taking care of it.
It starts with
my question is 10 power 9 is 10 digits, right? Why is taking 9 digits?
Sorry, Manoj?
10 power 9 comes to 10 digits, right?
No, he's taking 10 raised to 18, I think, right? Ishan?
Yeah, 10 raised to 18.
10 raised to 18, square root will be 10 raised to 9, right?
And for representing that, we need at most 4 digits to construct 9.
Right. That part I am not understanding. What you are saying with that, what you are meaning by you only need at most 4 digits to construct 9 digits.
We only to construct 9 digits. I mean, the other 4 will be repeated. No. See, if it is a 9 digit, then first 4 is there. Okay. Then the next 4 will be what? The duplicate of the first 4.
Okay, okay, now got it actually. So the middle
Yeah, and
one
then
can be, yeah, middle one can be 1. So it will be 9
exactly.
digits max.
Yes, yes.
Shashank, but where are we handling like whether the answer we are appending to the final answer list, it is between the LNR range?
Yeah, that is what I'm
I'm
also
still not.
searching. Like there.
So actually, it should be if you look for your super palindromes in range function, it might
Yeah.
be taking care of the main entry function.
Maybe
Correct.
we are going from 0 to L, 0 to R, then
I
subtracting.
took this. It passed the test cases. I didn't know. I took the same code here.
Okay.
It is passing all the
Yeah,
cases.
yeah. But you'll surely see it is using that somewhere right here.
But where is it
Can you
using?
Yeah, L they are
can you take an
plotting L here.
example
They are
Sure,
plotting
sure.
L right for this function. Where is L used?
where?
Yeah, that is what we're trying to find, Manoj.
And how it is passing? That's a.
Can you scroll down a bit?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
please scroll down.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think this is half or what? I'm not returning anywhere the. So
Yeah.
then this is not the code. Then this code is not.
Okay, just compile and
Okay, okay,
see.
it's the
Yeah,
wrong answer.
that's the
Sorry.
wrong answer. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So
Okay.
But okay, then one another. This one was like they have used some maths formula here, but the intuition was like good only, right? I mean,
yeah, that is fine.
Right,
So
right.
if you look at the solution, in solution, they have slightly mentioned a better way. Okay. So
okay.
Can someone quickly summarize that? I'm a bit confused.
Which
which
one?
one?
The one Shashank was explaining.
Yeah, actually, it's not working. That is what he's saying.
Is it?
But
Yeah,
I think the
because
approach is fine. No?
Yeah,
yeah, it
Some more.
looks so.
I got it in bits and pieces.
Yeah, so
No,
it's not
the
a
main thing
complete
is how they
solution.
are, yeah, how they are finding the L to R range actually. So that
Yeah,
is
that
not
they are
clear
missing
actually.
here. That's why it's
Yeah, yeah.
not
Right.
so correct.
Right.
Actually, what they are doing, see, palindrome can be divided into 3 parts. First part will be the repetition. I mean, reverse. When you do the reverse of first part, that will be your last part, and middle you can fill up to 1 to 9. So we
Right.
are constructing all such numbers here and putting it in our this. What do you say? S1. Now, for every number, we have to choose the middle part, like 1 to 9. So is the final array which will contain all the palindromic numbers, all the numbers that we can generate between this, which would be a palindrome.
So
After
S1
that,
is so on line number 5 we have S1. So that would
yeah,
be the concatenated number, right?
yes, 1, 2, 3, and then 3, 2, 1. This
3,
is
2, 1.
S1. Now we'll start filling 0, 1, like you can have 1, 2, 3, 0, 3, 2, 1. One number will be this again, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 1, so on. And after that, it's like normal, like all these numbers will be in the form of a string, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So we are converting all of these numbers to the integer,
Okay.
and then we are just sorting them.
Okay.
And after sorting, I'm doing the square of that number and checking whether that will be a palindrome or not.
So why are we sorting it?
Because we are doing the square of that number. The square of that number. These are the basic. I mean, yeah, we shouldn't square them,
I
right?
don't think there's I don't think there is no need to square
There's some
as
glitches
such.
there.
No, we'll have to square, no, because the limit is till 10 to the power 18. What we have formed till now is a number till 10 to the power 9.
9. Okay, yeah, we'll have to square it then. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
we have to square, but we don't have to sort. Right? We don't have sorting.
yeah. Sorting I didn't get. I don't know, maybe. So what I gather from this is that he's kind of maintaining this in this answer array, and after this he'll just do answer of R minus answer of L minus 1. Maybe if he's storing some count or something.
Maybe some modification.
Yeah.
What do we need?
Yeah.
Count
Or maybe on line number.
A line number.
With the solution not complete, I think we cannot infer things from here. Especially the solution is not
Yeah,
complete.
exactly. That's
It's better to go with the other solution.
Yeah, when Santosh was saying something, somebody said in chat.
Actually, what I'm trying to say, if you look at the solution here, okay, the mathematical one, the approach one, okay, if you just, it is slightly a bit understandable. I'm not saying it's completely understandable, but if you don't go to the implementation, yeah, just go up, scroll up.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. What he says now, the intuitions, the way he's saying, say P is equal to R square is a palindrome. Okay, because R is a palindrome. The first half of the digits in R determine R up to 2 possibilities, right? So in that case, he's taking the formula like for you say example K equals 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you can form R in 2 ways: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3, 2, 1. You are doing it the way, or like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4, 3, 2, 1. So this is the 2 way it can be represented, right?
Okay.
So for each possibilities, it can be even and odd. And therefore, he's saying if P is less than 10 raised to 18, okay, because that is our limitation, right? So R will be less than under root of 10 raised to 18, which will be 10 raised to 9. And that is what you came up with. So R will be equal to K or K dash. K and K dash are nothing but the odd and even what we just saw here. So therefore, he's saying K will be less than 10 raised to 5. If it is 10 raised to 9, so K will be less than 10 raised to 5, half of it, right?
Okay.
Okay, and that is what the magic number is. Okay, so in the algorithm part, if you slightly scroll down, he says that, in this case, for each 1 to magic number where the value is K, right? So there can be associated palindrome R, and check the R square if it's a palindrome, and that would be our super palindrome. Okay, so he's doing it for each and every number from 1 to magic number. Okay. Squaring of each and every number, and he's trying to check. First, he's actually trying to check the numbers between 1 to magic number if they are palindrome, and then he's squaring it and looking for if they are palindrome, then actually you consider that as a super palindrome. And then he said we should handle the odd and even possibilities separately. That is right? Because we don't want to handle together. And whenever we see any of them is greater than our R, okay, then we just break it out, because that will be the biggest number what we can go. So that is one optimization is doing. Okay, so here you come in this implementation. So if you, okay, so now L and R is nothing but he has converted. So he's going from 1 to magic number. Okay, and every time actually he is taking this one number, is forming a string builder, and out of that string builder he's trying to form a palindrome over here. Okay. He's actually creating a palindrome, and then he's converting back into an integer form and squaring it. Okay, and if this is greater than R, he breaks. Okay, if it's not greater than R, if he checks this number V is greater than or equal to L and also a palindrome, then you increment that. So when he is done with odd lengths, then he's going for the even lengths. So in the even length, there is nothing different. But if you look at the line number 11, where he's saying SB length minus 2, instead of that, he's taking SB length minus 1. That's the only difference what he's doing. But he is doing O of n 2 times. O of 2n he is doing.
In the last year.
Yeah,
So
but it's not an optimized version, I would say.
But it's
So he's actually explicitly making a palindrome every time. He's converting to a string and then again back to a long and again converting to a square, right?
And and then checking whether it's a palindrome.
Yeah. But that is the way he's talking about exactly the problem statement and is trying to do it.
He's just implementing the problem statement, like
Exactly, yeah.
square it and do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it will be accepted. I doubt, right?
Yeah, it looks
Because he has not said it is accepted in his approach also.
comments. Okay. But
I
one
think-
clue. Okay.
I think what you, Shashank, explained is something very close to this. Although we
Yeah.
are not taking the square, we are concatenating the numbers and then we are checking. But I think this is, I mean, it's on the same lines. Apart from taking the square, we are
It looks
concatenating the
But why sorting am I there? I got the logic. But when I was going through one more solution, there they are using some different logic. So they have this theorem. The square of palindrome. Yeah. Harshit wants to say.
And I'm saying this would be a mathematical one, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. Mathematical based it is. So they are saying the square of a palindrome will be a palindrome as long as sum of every digit is less than 10 when doing the
Sum of the
vertical
squares of
form
every
of multiplication. Okay, let's stick to this only. I think that
Someone actually is doing in the form using a BFS.
yeah, BFS.
Yeah.
Like
So, but that's slightly okay. I'm not sure. Python also and C++ also.
oh, C++.
Both of them are doing a
But he didn't TLE with.
But actually, I implemented the one he's saying in, and I ran that. I'm not getting a TLE. It is actually passing through. The one, the C++ one, no cheating, whatever. Yeah, that one. Actually, it works. So, but I didn't understand. See, he's doing the way Ronnie was saying, right? If you look at the first statement, he's taking a double of, he's taking a square root of L and R first. LB and UB are the square roots. Okay. And then he's just comparing for the first time if LB is less than or equal to 3 and 3 is greater than or equal to upper bound. And the reason why he's doing is trying to find out if they are actually in some number is there, which is actually super palindrome. Okay, that is what I get about. I'm not very clear about that. But then he's using a Q and then he's starting with, he's pushing 1 and then he's pushing 2. Okay, and then the second pair, the integer pair is what the size of that. Okay, here it is only 1. And then it's popping out and then it's actually trying to find if x in this one is greater than ub or else it's breaking out. And then it's actually trying to create a power of whatever those things are.
And he's only checking for what is it? Only for odd length.
No, he's in the else part is checking for the other.
Oh, if it's sorry.
So if it either odd or even, right?
Again, like what is the intuition? Where is BFS here? Okay, Q here.
Yeah, when he's using a Q, he's saying it's a BFS, but yeah, that's not real BFS. Yeah, there are crazy ways of doing it, but I'm not sure if the solution one works. But they have not said also it's not working anywhere. So
what are other solutions they use?
if you look at time complexity, it is not that bad.
Whatever that is given in the lead code solution, it should work, right? They might have add only the working solution there, right?
No. Actually, if it's a working solution, they will say accepted in the approach itself. But yeah, usually it will be like if it's a single solution, then it has to be accepted. That is what I would assume. Yeah. Yeah, but the time complexity is also not that much, right? It's pretty good.
Somewhat like
yeah.
Whatever the problem that is given in solution, actually, if they don't have a solution or something, they will keep it empty for some problems actually.
Right.
So
I agree.
since we can we run it actually? The run copy and paste the solution.
sorry, some indentation.
Yeah, it works. The Java solution works. It is slightly higher runtime, but it works.
Okay.
Yeah, it is acceptable. Oh, you copied inside that.
Yeah. Oh, it's Java is working, right?
Right, it is working.
Oh yeah, some.
Yeah, you actually did a nested copy, so you might have to actually
Yeah,
recopy it.
Python, the space alignment, if the alignment is not good also it will throw compilation error, right? Python.
Yeah,
This
Xrange,
maybe
they
the
are
range.
Python deprecated Python they are using this.
Also try run code before like clicking on submit. It affects your, yeah. It affects the total acceptance rate.
Wrong answer it is given.
No, actually that's fine. But this one works, the Java one.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry. So that should be fine. If you want, do you want me to do the Python also?
Yeah. Python is running.
No, I'll just try. I
Yeah,
don't know
sure.
actually. I don't even know how to compile that, but
But here it's giving wrong.
okay.
Okay, let me delete everything and then.
Yeah, actually just copy the whole solution. You are doing Python 3. I'll just do Python.
Yeah, this is again Python, different Python it is. I mean Python 2.
So
So
I'll do this Python, just the Python one.
it's got executed. So,
Yeah.
okay, share it.
Yeah, the Python actually works, right? Yeah. I'm not sure Python 3 works.
Yeah, in Python 3 it's not working.
Yeah, maybe it's not as per that syntaxes.
Yeah, I think Python 3 does not have backward compatibility.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is a pretty old solution also, right? They have not updated. There might be much better solutions which have come up. Okay. But yeah, we have got that. So at least even if we go through the way they are saying, it might work. Okay, as per the
Exactly,
solution.
yeah.
Okay. Not a very good solution though, but because the BFS solution actually is almost 0%, 0 milliseconds, what I got. So yeah, that's pretty good in the time complexity. As well, the memory is also 6.3 MB. So that's pretty decent.
Yeah, decent one looks.
Yeah, one question is
okay. Tang, I just have a question.
Yeah, Devon.
Yeah, can we use something like prefix sum onto this? Prefix sum or like a sieve method so that we don't have to calculate every time we have a built array, already built an array. So we find we want within a range, we just subtract it. And I think finding the sieve will be a good method by Shashank, which he shared very initially, like making like a mirror imaging the initial 4 digits to 9 digits. I think that may work.
Oh, first and last were same, reverse of each other.
Yeah. Because the problem is the number is very huge. That's why the input is in a string. Okay, so we can't. There will be some way like a yeah. So something like a sieve or something like a prefix sum. Okay, because if it's very high number, so it's gonna return the time limit exceed. Okay.
So what prefix sum will do here? Like, I mean, how would you use prefix sum here?
Yeah, prefix sum. I think it's more like a sieve method. So there will be automatic. So if I want to find the number super palindrome number less than 1,000, they will be automatically like a 6. Okay. And if I want to find within a range, I will subtract from the initial from where I'm gonna start to find that range. Okay. From 1 to 100 it's 6, but I have to find from 11 to 100. Okay, and that might result in subtracting actual two numbers that are less than 10. Okay, something like this.
Yeah, like It's like 1 to 10 the number is given, you want to find the result of first 4, so last 4 you will subtract, something like that. But
Yeah, or we can use something like the from the sieve method. Okay, we find the for finding the primes, which is equivalent to we use for
what is
Oh,
C
so
method?
the sieve method, what is trying to say is you eliminate the ones which are not in our selection.
Contributing, yeah.
Right. And then whatever remains will be the solutions.
Yeah, I want to say that we have to pre-calculate up to some range, up to the complete range. And when we want to return the result, we just keep do a different small repair onto it and we'll return the result. The thing is we have to pre-calculate everything, and for returning the result, we'll just repair the limits and return the answer. Just to save the time limit.
Okay.
You're talking floor and seal, that seal or what?
Yeah, that's
sieve, SIEV, we use
SIEV.
sieve Erothanus for finding prime factors, right?
Yeah, similar to this. Yeah.
Similar to that, yeah. Yeah, that might be interesting to look for.
Yeah, I mean,
like, in the interviews, how long they will give for odd problems like this actually? Like, will that be also 1 hour or 45 minutes, or for these problems people will give additional time? Just wanted to know.
Well, actually, they would, if we come across such a hard problem, first I would think we'll always have a discussion, right? So we'll at least discuss our approach. And so if our approach is actually working, and if